And we are back on air at the 2021 SEC Indoor Track and Field Championships in Fayetteville, Arkansas. The SEC show leading up to the NCAA show here at the Tyson Indoor Track Center 2 weeks from this weekend. Take a look at the team score after the preliminary day. 7 finals complete in the women's rankings, and there's Georgia at 49. Ole Miss, Arkansas, LSU kind of bumped up there, kind of clumped up as we look at 2, 3, and 4. Saturday night is for women's track here at the SEC. Split gender sessions because of COVID safety protocols. John Anderson along with Dwight Stones and Dan O'Brien. And guys, let's not be fooled by those standings. Arkansas is 12 points back in third, but that is truly one of those objects in your rearview mirror are closer than they appear, because in the next 4 hours, Arkansas is going to come out of here and they will overwhelm everybody both with numbers and with ability.
And here's some more numbers for you, John. Arkansas, the #1 team in the country on the women's side. 5 SEC teams in the top 10. And Arkansas put 25 finalists on the track today. The first 2 days, mostly preliminaries, except for some field events, 1 distance final, and the multi-events. All of the finals that mean anything with the team title on the line are today, and Arkansas has 25 people eligible to score. That's pretty much unbeatable, and you don't get there without great individuals, Dan O'Brien.
Well, and we're going to get a chance to see what makes Arkansas so strong. It comes down from their distance crew. They're led by Chrissy Gear in the women's mile. 5 finalists in that women's mile. And if you're going to look away from Arkansas just for a second, watch Abby Steiner in the 60 meters for Kentucky, as well as the 200 meters. And Tamara Clark from Alabama. Abby and Tamara will be going head-to-head in that 60-meter and 200-meter clash.
Yeah, certainly Arkansas does not have a monopoly in all of the great talent in this conference, and we will see outstanding performances. Throughout what you see here is our program tonight. We'll have the triple jump coming up exclusively here right after we get done. The mile first event always on the track indoors, and you got the short sprints, and we'll conclude it with the 4x400 meter relay. And just like in the men's, a lot of talented quarter milers that we'll be able to watch. Coming back with the triple jump, because even in the SEC, if you don't have Katurah Orji, you can still have the event. It'll be good stuff when we can return to Fayetteville. Back in Fayetteville, Arkansas, 2021 SEC Indoor Track and Field Championships. We're going to concentrate on the field here for the next half hour or so until the women's final start. It is the women's triple jump, which was the domain of Katurah Orji, but she's now graduated. But lo and behold, Dwight, look, more Georgia jumpers.
Yeah, that's the place to go in the collegiate ranks with Coach Petros Kyprianou and all that success he had with Katurah Orji. You know, a little history of the women's triple jump. It first was on the Olympic program back in 1996. And that was the last time before 2016 that the U.S. had a finalist at the Olympic Games in the event. And Katurah Orji, for a moment, was in 3rd place in medal position, ended up 4th. But she really has changed the landscape, and I think probably inspired a lot of new triple jump talent. I've seen Tori Franklin come into her own since then, too. They've traded the American record back and forth and finally have had it pushed up there where it's at a level that we can be proud of internationally at World Championships and Olympic Games.
Well, and a lot of that has to do, we think about the cyclical nature of track and field, and U.S. women are triple jumping better, but it has to do with our coaches. How good are our coaches? How much talent can we certainly find? But who can coach the event? And for a lot of years, you know, we weren't coaching the rotational shot put very well, but now we are. U.S. is back in dominant position, and you know, you kind of feel that pain certainly a little bit, Dwight, as the men's high jump goes up and down.
Yeah, there's no question. But in this event, the complaint I've always had is that you're taking high school long jumpers, really good long jumpers, and saying, hey, let's get more points in triple jump. And this event, you have to coach and have an athlete that has the ability to do the second phase, the step phase. And the problem with converting a long jumper is they have a big hop, because that's what they do as long jumpers. They go far off the board. Then they have this little tiny step in between because they don't have the strength or don't understand the technique or aren't taught the technique properly to absorb that hit when they land. So they have a little tiny step, and then whatever momentum they've got left, they do the jump phase. And that's the way it's been coached, and that's what we have seen up until about 5 years ago when Katurah Orji hit the scene and had such great success. So I'm hopeful that we've got some coaches that are going to do a better job of bringing our young talent along so that we can be in the rightful place that we should be in jumps in the world, because we have an incredible talent pool for jumpers in this country.
You look at the difference between the men's and women's triple jump. Such a history on the men's side. You know, Willie Banks and certainly now Christian Taylor, and the handful of athletes between those two time periods. Certainly Al Joyner.
And so many of those good triple jumpers we have now are out of that Florida program.
Yeah.
With Will Clay and Omar Craddock.
Marquise Dendy.
Who will hurt you in both the long jump and the triple jump. Yeah, it's a factory down there for triple jump. And Christian Taylor so close to breaking Jonathan Edwards' world record just a few years back. I still think he might have that in him.
Every year that goes by, you kind of wonder about his ability just a little bit more. But what made Christian Taylor, well, he was in Florida as well, and certainly Mike Holloway does a wonderful job of, you know, running all of his athletes. But Christian Taylor was a guy who could run a great 200 meters. Christian Taylor was a guy who could run a great 400 meters. He used that strength and that ability in that triple jump. And as you get a little bit older, you know, you can't always do the things you did when you were younger. And, you know, he wants to get out there and still try to run a 44-second 400.
Yeah.
It's like, ooh, that could be tough at his age.
Yeah. No, he's definitely capable. 45 low open, I think, and mid 44s on a relay.
I would think, I mean, the world record would be wonderful, but as Sav goes, a couple of gold medals in the Olympics, 4 world championships, golds would be okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It'll suffice.
Well, and the triple jump world record it's perfection. I mean, it's just about as flawless as a jump you will see out there. Just, it's fast, it's dynamic, solid, just, it's so balanced. It's a film in teaching how to triple jump.
No, it's a work of art, and I find it not ironic, maybe just coincidental or interesting, but both triple jump world records set in the same meet 26 years ago, and they've been challenged but not bettered. But both of those world records by Jonathan Edwards are just a training film for triple jump, and good luck to you if you can duplicate what he did. But what Inessa Kravitz did on the women's side, I mean, 15 meters 50, almost 51 feet for women's triple jump. It's going to still be a while, as far as I can see, until that world record's going to be broken. So in track and field, there's just not an event that goes faster than women's jumps. They are very, very quick. High jump, long jump, triple jump. There's just no wasted time, wasted energy. You can get an event done very, very quickly.
Halia Mitchell, white flag, good jump here. She comes through. She seated sort of middle of the packish when they came in. 12:59.
So 5 jumps in, it's Jasmine Moore of Georgia with 45 3 3/4. That's leading.
Improves on her season best, moves her up to second on the form list. Ruth Osoro from Texas Tech. Still about a foot behind her.
You know, I used to tell my jumpers, you know, all the jumps have the same rhythm of the last 4 steps. And I talked to Willie Banks. He said, no, the triple jump doesn't have that same rhythm. And he told me the difference. So I stopped telling my kids that. And I have girl high jumpers who are also triple jumping in high school. So they've got to have those two different rhythms in their heads when they're doing whatever event they happen to be doing at the time.
This is another one, right? You think legs jump, and your arms here can make or break just the whole thing. You continue that momentum, or it can just literally put on the brakes and snuff you out.
That's why I'm fine with high jump, triple jump as a double. I don't like high jump, long jump for the kids that I coach. But because of the arm component and the bounding component of the triple jump, I'm fine with it for high jump. I have to do a lot of bounding anyway as part of their high jump training. But what I really love is high jump 300-meter hurdles. The easiest event in the sport to train for to the hardest event in the sport to train for. My high jumpers don't much like it when I tell them I want them to run the 300 hurdles. I said, make no mistake, I wouldn't have done it.
Puts her in 4th place in Division 1. Age of age, she was in 5th at 17:29. Until 17:81, moving to 4th. So that can count 1 hour 18 meters in the top 3 in the country. But she's your leader right now here at the SUC, looking at age from Tennessee.
That was Kendall McKnight from LSU, and as you watch her run down the runway, it almost looks like she gets tired before she even gets to the board. That was an extremely long run.
A little deceleration trauma.
Yep.
I didn't see, did they combine this into one flight, or is it 2 separate flights in the women's triple jump?
Looks like 14 straight.
Okay. Another Georgia jumper, Tatiana Marsh.
Is that short second phase you talked about?
Not much second phase there. I'm surprised. I mean, you've got to be so strong through your core and your flexors in order to absorb that impact when you're coming off the hop. And you've got to have a coach that will be disciplined about having you not get too much height off the board. And that's what the long jumpers want, but it's not so much what the triple jumpers want. You just want to keep the momentum going so that you have something left for the jump phase.
I find myself in discussions with performance strength coaches who mostly deal with football players, baseball players, having discussions about the sport of track and field videos and the different types of weight training they do as it compares to other sports, and it's a completely different world.
Yeah, no question. And unfortunately in high school, most of what you get in the weight room is the guy who is coaching the football players.
That's right, that's right.
And they know next to nothing about how track athletes should lift, especially high jumpers should lift. So I try to teach them, and then hopefully they can do it on their own, but that's asking a lot of a high school kid. All right, here's our leader, Jasmine Moore. Her first jump, 45 3 3/4, 13 meters 81. She's got a decent second phase. Yeah, it's unfortunate that that's a foul. That was a good jump, probably an improvement. Let's see if we can catch her foot on the board. Oh, that was close. Just over.
Didn't look like her spikes were in the dark area, but there's an official sitting right there. Flag went up immediately.
And they've got a camera on it, so they can take a look at that if need be. Any coach decides he wants to plop down his $50 for a protest appeal to look at that, $50, you can take a look at it.
That was Petros Kyprianou that she came back to and had video of that last effort. So as a coach, you say, listen, that was a really nice jump. You technically executed very nicely. So just move your step back about a half of a foot, half of a shoe, and execute that exact same jump.
But so many times an athlete will steer themselves onto the wrong place on the board, and even if they move their step back, they'll still figure out a way to be an inch over.
Still get there. I mean, talk about Dendy. I mean, that guy was so foul prone by the smallest of increments with huge performances that never counted. It was frustrating to watch that. At the World Championships, for example, he was on, but he just could not get on that board.
Didn't appear happy with that.
So Natricia Hooper improving in the second round.
They have limited the fields here to 24 for the running events, and at nationals it'll be the full complement of 16 in the field events, and the 2 relays, the 4x4 and the distance medley relay, are 12, the top 12 teams that they will take here, qualify for nationals. Work to do there at 39.7 for Janaea Jones.
That was not an improvement on her first jump, which was just over 40 feet. 40 feet 2 1/4.
Amy Warren from Mississippi State, foul on her first attempt. That looked pretty good, though. Nice patience, good knee drive. Everything seems to be in sync. Put on the brakes a little at the end, but looking at the placards, 42.3.
Dwight, you've got some UCLA ties. The triple jump's a lot of John Wooden, right? Be quick, but don't hurry.
I never saw John out there coaching the triple jumpers.
But that, you want to be fast.
No, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. By the way, the most boring basketball practice you would ever watch is John Wooden coaching his team. But it was repetition, 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 repetition. That's part of how I learned it. I watched and went, oh, okay. I thought it would be much more exciting than this.
Was that back when they put the chairs on the court and you? Oh no, that was the Hoosiers. Clear back in clear back in the 50s. All right. Wow. Not that far back, huh?
Cold-blooded right there.
That's one of the great memories I had, is sleeping out in Pauley Pavilion the night before the student tickets went on sale and getting my priority number and making sure I was in the student section for all those home games. That was wonderful. Walton was a sophomore. That was great times. And Marsh, again, not having any luck getting on the board.
It's a good-looking jump, so powerful.
But it's 2 fouls.
Yeah.
She's got to get a mark in order to get her final 3 jumps. There's Petros looking at it. You know, I've written articles many times about the long and triple jump. You know, just turning it into a sector, forget this whole board thing, give the people what they actually jumped. I've got no takers.
Well, one of the, Dwight, I actually brought that up. I sit in on a roundtable discussion, and with the NCAA, the USOC, some athletic directors, and the discussions that we've had this season have been about the cancellation of track and field programs at the Division I level. Certainly Minnesota and
Clemson.
John, we talked about that just a little bit. Clemson, probably the most shocking. And the discussion is, how do you develop a program that people in the community need. You make it so popular. You got to put people in the stands and make it such a popular event that your school can't take it away from you. And the discussion again is, how do we make it more interesting? And I brought up your idea on don't make it a 6-inch board. Let's make it a 2-foot spot, make it a little more interesting. We can measure from where we go. So, we can pick that up after the break, because I know you got lots and lots to talk about.
And we'll be back to talk more about it in a minute.
Take a look at the final men's team standings from the 2021 SEC Indoor Track and Field Championships, and the Arkansas Razorbacks with 116 points, better than LSU there at 93, so it's a 23-point margin and a 24th SEC championship. But a first here at Arkansas. It's the first time they've ever won it without an individual champion. Great depth on this squad as Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, gives them that trophy, and then Chris Bucknam. Well, he's got nothing but compliments for his guys.
We had 27 athletes compete, 24 of them scored. Our goal was to win a ring. That's what our goal was to do, and get on TV with you. So it was just a great performance by our guys. And again, we put it together. Our coaches, Doug Case and Mario Satania, did a phenomenal job across the board. 24 out of 27 people scoring. That's a great team victory.
I mean, I didn't have the heart to tell them the whole meet's on TV, right? Like, they're on a bunch. But as for the women's title race, well, 5,000 meters will play a big part in that. Here's Dwight.
All right, John, that 5,000 meters was an exciting event yesterday. The maximum allowable 24 athletes on the track. And Katie Izzo there in the burgundy of Arkansas was favored to defend her crown. Took the lead late, thought she had it locked, but Joyce Camelli of Auburn, she had different ideas. She had come from behind, had measured the field, and had a head of steam under her, and steals the 5,000 in the last lap. Defending champion denied. Joyce Camelli of Auburn wins it over Katie Izzo and Mercy Chilangat, who did a lot of the work the last mile.
So we look at the women's team standings. 7 of 17 events are complete. And Arkansas, we should just, they are powered by their distance group. And right now, they're sitting third. They're just kind of on the shoulder of Ole Miss and Georgia, and they're ready to blow by them here when the time comes. And with the women's mile to start, Dwight, the time has come.
It certainly has. The collegiate record holder, Jenny Behringer, now Simpson, maybe our finest middle distance runner running in the last decade. Dominique Scott of Arkansas has the meet record. There are 10 athletes in this final. Arkansas has half the field. So they're certain to score a boatload of points, led by this young lady, their senior, Chrissy Gear. She was second at this distance a year ago.
There's Amaris Tanisma. If anybody hopes to break up that dominance of Arkansas, she's somebody who certainly can. She's ranked number 3 in the nation, number 2 in the SEC with a 4:33. She was second just a couple weeks ago here at the Tyson Invitational.
Alabama going with their crimson today. They were in white in the preliminaries. Here's how they will line up. Look at all that Arkansas on that board. As I mentioned, 25 total finalists on the track today. 5 of them right here in the women's mile. They will start in those groups. 3 on the outside, 7 on the inside. Stay in their lane in that group through the first 2 turns, and then break for the pole in the home stretch.
In the men's mile, we saw a new SEC record and a number of other fantastic marks come out of that earlier session. Let's see what we can come up with here in the evening session.
2-milers under 3:59. It was a rarity to see 4 minutes broken in the SEC mile final, usually a tactical affair. And Tenisma sharing the lead early. Now Van Camp of Arkansas taking the lead in earnest. And we'll watch for the pace. Still a bit of a bunched up field. Imogene Barrett of Florida with the 6 on her thigh, also from Australia. So you know when you see them bunching up like that and looking for room to run to the outside that the pace is not terribly blistering. About 70 for the first lap, so not terrible, but certainly everybody in it. Van Camp, Tenisma, Barrett, the top 3. Lauren Gregory of Arkansas also up there, along with Presley Weems of Auburn.
Wouldn't sleep on Barrett in there. I'm not sure she's in peak fitness, but she, of course, won the 2019 1,500 meters outdoors, so she certainly has the bona fides to compete up there up front. Right there in third, her coach, Chris Zielinski, who said that she's not in peak fitness, but we're going to try to figure out a race plan that maybe gives her a shot.
Well, this race pace, I think, will probably give her a shot here.
Definitely picking up. As Gracie Hyde of Arkansas races up from back in the pack to take over the leading duties. And with 5 of the 10 athletes in the race, Arkansas obviously can run some team tactics. That was a slow second 400, 2:22.7 at the half.
Right at about 450 pace, 455 pace.
So we're not looking for a championship record, but it could be a heck of a race with the runners with the speed in this race. This is just perfect for them. Maris Tenisma of Alabama now taking over the lead. She did the same thing in her preliminary. A whole lot of Arkansas up front. There goes Imogene Barrett. And the next 5 athletes are from Arkansas. Now the next 4. A lot of scoring potential there with 4 of the 6 up front Razorbacks.
Lauren Gregory, the 2019 champ. So in all, in these 17 women's events, if you count the relays, there are 13 returning champions in this meet. A lot of experience.
So Tenisma really starting to push the pace. They're going to make him kick it in from way out. Already dropping a couple of Arkansas runners back. It's just Chrissy Gear and Lauren Gregory up front now for the Razorbacks.
Lauren Gregory looks like she's still got a lot of run in her legs. Very comfortable. Chrissy Gear as well.
Imogene Barrett starting to fall off the pace. So now it's Chrissy Gear going after Tenisma. Did Tenisma make her move too soon? Gear passes before the turn, and there goes Gregory. Tenisma then kicks it into another gear. So nobody's going to catch Chrissy Gear, but can Lauren Gregory get second? Doesn't look like it. Gear wins it. It's 1, 3, 5, 7 Arkansas.
Here we see the last 100. Chrissy Gear's got a nice head of steam as she goes down that back straight, and that's exactly where you want to pass somebody on the straight and not on the turn. And when she does pass, she passes decisively. She's got the leg turnover, and what started out as a very pedestrian pace, not what shouldn't have ended as a very quick pace, They negative split this thing, and she wins in 4:34. Classic Arkansas style. Tanisma is second. Lauren Gregory, a strong finish for third place.
Didn't miss the meet record by all that much, but it's the points that matter. 1:357 for Arkansas, 22 points in the mile for the Razorbacks. John?
Chrissy Gear, gee, you only moved up one spot from last year, but it seems like that makes all the difference in the world. Congratulations on the championship. Tell me how this thing played out in real time as opposed to maybe the plan you had coming in.
I guess I didn't have a plan, so, man, hold on, my brain's so slow right now, I'm sorry. Oh, these are tough girlies, for sure. Anyways, no plan, just not to follow up the back of the lead pack, stay in contact, and then I didn't want to lose to anyone who wasn't my teammate, you know? Like you said, 22 points a mile, that was the goal, is to get as many points as we can here to push the team up to like the overall title. So, very excited about it. Got the job done, and 3K next. That'll be fun.
That's right. We'll let you go get warmed down and then get stretched out. Triumph of an uncluttered mind. Sometimes you don't need a great plan. Chrissy Gear, congratulations.
Thank you.
There you see the excitement right there of the individual champ, SEC champ. That'll look good on the mantle. Back with more racing coming up right after this. We're going 60-meter dash. Basketball doubleheader kicking off, tipping off. Number 24, Mizzou taking on Florida. Foul that up with the Bulldogs and the Aggies. Mississippi State, Texas A&M. Coverage will begin 6:30 Eastern right here on the SEC Network and, of course, streaming on the ESPN app. Reading promos for a living, that's really easy stuff. Dan, I'll let you do the heavy lifting.
Well, how about I let these ladies do the heavy lifting in the women's weight throw. This is Jasmine Mitchell. She was second last year in the weight throw, and in the fourth round, she blasts a 76-foot, 3-inch throw for a personal best. She'll win the competition with that throw right there. Nobody could overtake her. This is Maddie Malone in the fifth round. She heaves one out to 75-1 and a quarter. This is a personal best for her, and she would move into second position. Shea Taiwu, one of the favorites coming into this event. On her sixth and final round, she saved her best for last, 75-7 and a quarter. Another personal best there. Personal best for the top three, but Shea Taiwu, she would take over second position. And Scott Smith and the Ole Miss ladies, they come away with 22 points in the women's weight throw.
All right, I interrupt this broadcast with breaking news. Arkansas is no longer in third place. Razorbacks, on the strength of that performance in the mile, have taken the lead through 8 events, and it seems like perhaps they don't have to look back and will be on their way and start adding to that total in bunches coming up. All right, well, we just saw the mile. A lot of drama builds through that. Go to the 60, Dwight, where the drama starts when they get in the blocks.
That's for certain. The women's 60 meters next on the program. Collegiate record held jointly by Hannah Cunliffe and Aaliyah Hobbs, and the SEC meet record Ramona Burchell when she was competing for Arkansas. Abby Steiner of Kentucky looked good not only in this race, but the 200, where we will see her later on in the evening.
There's Tamara Clark. She was a 2-time winner in 2019. Second place in the 200. She won this event last year. And we're looking back in history, and no athlete since 2013 has won both the 60 and the 200 meters. Either one of these athletes have that opportunity today. Abby Steiner and Tamara Clark will go head-to-head in the 200 meters as well.
Steiner will be in lane 3, third from the right. Tamara Clark of Alabama, lane 6, third from the left. Not a great start for Steiner at all. She's left in the blocks. And it looks like it's going to be from Tennessee, Joella Lloyd in the middle of the track. The 18-year-old sophomore from Antigua. She steals it, 7:15. Jada Baylock of Arkansas comes up for second in 7:18 in the 2 that we were looking for. not in the first and second position. Abby Steiner totally got left in the blocks. It's the #2 time amongst collegians this year.
Well, there you see Joella Lloyd in the middle of the track, and she's in the middle of the track because she had one of the fastest qualifying times. Look at the start she gets. She stands it up just a little bit, but she picks up about midway through and just outlifts everybody to the line in an impressive 7:15. She came in with a 7:20 indoor personal best, and she definitely saved her best indoor race for last. Jada Baylark, 7:18. Baylark is having one heck of a meet for Arkansas.
And that is the first time a Tennessee female sprinter has won the 60 meters in the conference. 7:15, the #2 time in the country, wins it for Joella Lloyd. Jada Baylark of Arkansas, also with a great start, ends up second. Samira Killebrew of Florida, 7:21 in third, and Steiner and Clark fourth and fifth. That was a little bit of a surprise, a great race, but a lot more sprinting left to go later in the program. Switching over very quickly to the women's high jump from yesterday. And Tyra Gittens, who had a disappointing 6th place in the pentathlon due to a terrible long jump competition, jumped 6'1 1/4, no misses on the way. She'll be long jumping later in the program. This is Anna Hall, who won the pentathlon and cleared 6'2 1/4 as part of that competition. That was a lifetime best. Here's her second attempt at 6'1 1/4. With a slight brush, it stays on. So 2 good days of high jumping for Hall. 6'2 1/4 first day, 6'1 1/4 second day. And then Abigail O'Donohue of LSU. This was her second attempt at 6'1 1/4. She was second at this meet last year, the winner 2 years ago, and was 6th at the NCAAs 2 years ago. Top 3 jumpers in the country, all in the same conference, and she's over with a slight brush as well. Gittens had won it at 6'2 1/4 with this jump right here. Had no misses on the way, compact. Watch how vertical she is in the run, and watch her pop off the ground. That's how you get it done. She took 2 jumps at 6'4", unsuccessful, and we talked to her afterwards.
Today was all about beating myself, because yesterday I let the negative Tyra, the bad Tyra that we don't like to see, I let her overtake. I let her win yesterday, and today I relaxed, I let go, and I have fun, and everything that I wanted to do was executed, and I cannot be happier. I'm exhausted, but I am so proud of myself, and I'm very happy.
Yep.
And next on the track, the women's 400-meter 2-section final. Kendall Ellis setting the collegiate record 3 years ago. Sydney McLaughlin in her only collegiate year setting the meet record 3 years ago. And in lane 5 in section 1, Amber Anning of LSU and Great Britain, the 20-year-old sophomore. She was third at this distance a year ago. Here is the start list. Robinson Jones of A&M in lane 3, Morgan Burks McGee in 4, Amber Anning of LSU in 5, and then Rosie Effiong of Arkansas on the outside. Runners in this race will establish the time to beat for the second section. You can win the race from either section. It's all on time. They will stay in their lanes through the first 2 turns and then break for the pole on the finishing stretch.
Nice and even into this first 100 meters.
Morgan Burks McGee, she trains on this track, knows it well, probably practices in lane 4. But it's Rosie Effiong who gets the pole uncontested on the outside, 23.86 for the first 200 meters.
As Rosie Effiong came to the straight, she just put a little bit extra effort in that downhill. It caused her to create a little bit of gap for herself.
Effiong trying to hold off Burks McGee. Burks McGee going wide now. There's no real room for Amber Anning to run. And it's going to be Morgan Burks McGee establishing the time to beat at 52.10. That's good running from lane 4. Effiong, or Anning, I should say, 52.27 for second.
Right here, Dwight, it looked like Amber Anning had a lot more run left in her, but she had to go clear to the outside to pass anybody. But nice, smart running by Morgan Brooks McGee, who's done it over and over on this track all season long.
It's the number 6 time in the NCAA this year.
Now she gets to wait.
There's the official results. Morgan Brooks McGee, 52.10. Followed by Amber Anning in 52.27. Rosie Effiong, 52.30. All solid times that the second section will be trying to beat. And very quickly, up comes the second section. This is Talitha Diggs of Florida. She will start in lane number 5. She was the fastest qualifier from the prelims at 51.91. If she could replicate that performance, she would win easily.
Just a freshman. Great performances coming out of this young Florida team. There's Paris Peoples on the outside. Second fastest qualifier yesterday, 52.27. She's in a good spot on the outside. Certainly she knows this track better than anybody else in the race.
Taylor Manson, the senior from Florida, will start in lane 3. Megan Moss of Kentucky and the Bahamas, the sophomore, starting out of lane 4. Then Talitha Diggs in 5. Paris Peoples of Arkansas in 6. Another point scoring opportunity for the Razorbacks. They already have the leading time from the first section in Morgan Brooks McGee.
Ladies, on your own.
There's 2 parts of this race: racing to get the pole position and then holding on through to the end. From the inside, Manson of Florida, Moss of Kentucky, Diggs of Florida, and Peoples of Arkansas. Very even through this first 100 meters. Peoples starting to fade out in lane 6. Here's the race for the pole. It's going to be Diggs uncontested.
Well, this is what Diggs did yesterday. She really pushed hard in that first 200 meters. She left herself a lot of work, but she was able to manage it.
23.99 for the 200 meters, slower than the first section. She's going to really pick it up. 52.10 is the time to beat for the title. It's Diggs struggling. Manson chasing. She won't catch her. Now it's all about the time. Oh, plenty of time. 51.14. And Taylor Manson with 51.82. 1 and 2 with that performance. Can't tell me it isn't a little bit of an advantage to be in this second section knowing what you're chasing.
Well, Talitha Diggs set herself up for a really, really challenging last 100 meters. But even though she was tired, even though she was beat, she kept her arms moving. She kept on swinging her arms. And that's what got her to the finish line. Look at that arm action. It might be a little bit tight and she's tired, but she continues to just make the body work and do what it knows how to do, and that's get to the line. It's good to be a Gator.
Well, Diggs already had the number 2 time in the country. She betters that in winning the title here at the SAT. Taylor Manson gets second place with 51.82, and we'll be back with a lot more right after this.
In this field for women's girls, all 8, 2 of which are freshmen, are in the Division I top 20. In lane 1, 2-time 4x4 All-American, she on the 5th place on the Thursday night in Kentucky.
Back in Arkansas for more SEC Championships coverage. The women's DNR earlier in the program. Dan?
Katie Thronson from Tennessee, she got the Volunteers out to a really big lead. But in that 1,600 meters, it was Amaris Tenisma in the all white on the outside. She'll bring Bama around for a win, and not just a win. Bama goes 10:59 for a new SEC record, but also 4 other teams were under the current record of 11:05 that Tennessee put up clear back in 2011. But lots to cheer about if you're an Alabama Crimson Tide fan. With a win in the distance medley relay, there you see Alabama was first, Florida second, and Arkansas, who decided to run a B team, was third.
So look at the team standings for the women after 11 of 17 events. Arkansas extending its lead now to 25 over Florida, who is 8 ahead of Georgia. But Arkansas with so many more opportunities to score. As we get ready for the women's 60-meter hurdles, Brianna Rollins, the Olympic champion in 2016, is the collegiate record holder, and Tania Marshall of LSU has the meet record.
There's Deja Freeman talking about opportunities to score there. Another Arkansas opportunity. Deja Freeman PR'd in her qualifying round yesterday with 8:10. Fastest qualifier coming into these finals. Second fastest qualifier. Milan Young was the fastest qualifier at 8:08.
And set a personal best in the qualifying. Arkansas has 3 scorers in this event. Lanes 5, 6, and 8. Freeman will be in lane 5. Young right next to her in lane 4. .60 meters, 5 sets of 33-inch hurdles. Young out well, attached well to the gun. Freeman chase now, Freeman in front. It's Freeman, now here comes Young again. Melon Young comes back and wins it. Great start, then just lost a little between the first and second hurdle, regathered herself, and came back nicely to win it in 8:03. Deja Freeman second in 8:07.
In the yellow top, there's Milan Young. Good start, pretty much even through the start, but it was between that third and fourth hurdle that she was really able to separate herself. She really was able to step down past that third hurdle. There we get a nice head-on shot. Look at the stability of her and her shoulders. A little left to right, but not too much. Close race all the way through. Outstanding time though, 8:03. Deja Freeman 8:07, continuing fast times over and over again on this track.
Lifetime best for both Young and Freeman. But Young gets the 10 points for LSU. Deja Freeman with Arkansas gets second, 5th, and 8th. So a lot of points again for the Razorbacks in the women's hurdles. As we go back to the women's pole vault, consisted yesterday. Kayla Smith of Georgia, her first attempt at 14.3 1/4. 4th the last 2 years at the SEC indoor, and that was good enough for second place. The defending champion, Lisa Gunnarsson of LSU from Sweden. Her first attempt at 14.3 1/4. She is the defending champion, and she ends up 3rd on misses. More misses than did Kayla Smith have. But this is Julia Fixon, the sophomore at Georgia. Her first attempt at 14.5 1/4. She was runner-up here last year. She upgrades to the title this year. She was the #1 pole vaulter in high school in 2019. So first and second for the Bulldogs in the women's pole vault. 14.5 1/4 for Fixon, 14.3 1/4 for Smith and Gunnarsson. Next final on the track is the 800 meters. Jasmine Frey of A&M still the collegiate record holder. That could be challenged. Nicole Cook of Tennessee setting that meet record 16 years ago. And there she is, Ating Mo, the freshman. Won it all as a high schooler in New Jersey, now at A&M. Another great half miler at A&M. Right next to her, Shafiqua Maloney of Arkansas from St. Vincent and Grenadines, a senior here at Arkansas.
Well, 2:05 for Mo in the qualifying, 2:07 for Maloney. I think Maloney is the only person in this race that can challenge Mo at all. Ating's got the fastest time in both the 400 and the 800 collegiately this season, and Mo is so strong in the second half of the race. She took it easy yesterday and cruised into a 2:07. But she is absolutely a phenom. We're watching something very, very special.
Shafiqua Maloney there on your screen. It's her birthday today. Happy birthday. What would you rather be doing than running the 800-meter final at the SEC Championships?
Anna Marion Block just to the outside of Maloney from Georgia. She ran 2:06 in the qualifying.
Arkansas with 2 more finalists here to score more points. They'll stay on those groups through the first 2 turns. We've seen Mo like to lead. She looked very easy in her prelim heat yesterday.
So since the indoor season started, Dwight, Ating Mo puts up the nation's fastest 800 meters, fastest run for anybody her age. Then she also helps Texas A&M to a national record in the 4x4. Then in an open event, she runs the fastest 400 meters in the nation as well. So just a very special athlete. The 2019 USA Track and Field Junior Athlete of the Award. She stood up in front of everybody at the Jesse Owens Award and said, "My time is now," and she's proving it.
She's certainly used to running by herself out in front, so doing so in a championship race doesn't really matter that much to her. 57.9 for the first 400 meters. Pretty brisk. I don't think there's any question that she's going for the collegiate record right now, which is held by a Texas A&M athlete in Jasmine Frey. She set that record when she was a sophomore at A&M. Won her share of championships and NCAA point scores for the Aggies, but Mo is definitely going for it.
Well, she's certainly got a chance. 1:27.6.
She's trying to become the first collegian to break 2 minutes indoors in the 800 meters. The record is 2:69 by Jasmine Frey. We're watching collegiate indoor history right here. The freshman from Texas A&M obliterates the collegiate record. 1:58.40. She takes more than 2 seconds off of the previous record, and she had to do that to break the school record. And that is the number 3 time in the world this year.
Well, from the start of the race, you could tell that Ating Mo was really trying to put up a good time. In that first 100 meters, she established a fantastic place, had a big lead. The toughest part of this race is that last lap all by yourself. Nobody there to push you, just you and yourself. And I just telling yourself you can do it, keep the tempo up. And she sees the time, 1:58.40.
Well, she went out in 57.9, came back in 60.5. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty fit. 1:58.40, a new collegiate record by Ating Mo, and she is with John.
Ating Mo, I don't know if I should ask you questions or just say thank you. Usually it's the athletes that are out of breath and don't know what to say in this question. Tell me, what does 1:58.40 say to you after that performance?
Oh God, I just know that I'm completely blessed here now. And I honestly just thank God for all the things that I'm able to do this whole entire season. I mean, it just shows that I'm just really strong, and I've grown a lot this past year just being in college as a collegiate athlete, so.
Well, in your first major collegiate championship, you smashed the college record. Congratulations, fantastic. And I'm sure Pat Henry's got a seat for you on the flight home to College Station.
He does.
All right, I'm not sure I want to run to the 200 and try and top that, but that's what comes next. But what a outstanding performance from a Ting Mu. Fantastic.
In the women's long jump, it was another personal record fest. This is LSU senior Aaliyah Wisby on her second attempt. This fast runway, everybody's enjoying a lot of speed on these fast runways. She bounces out to 21.8 1/4 for a personal best. She would finish second in the attempt. She would finish second in the event on her second attempt. This is Titiana Marsh. She's a junior out of Georgia. This is her 5th attempt. She was 10th last year at these SEC championships. She would bounce out to 20 feet 10 3/4 inches for a personal best as well. She would finish in 3rd place. Well, as if the pentathlon and the high jump weren't enough, Tyra Gittens walks over to the long jump, her 8th event, and in the 6th and final round, she bounces out to 21.8 3/4 for a personal record, and she takes the event. Just moments after winning the high jump, she walks over, wins the long jump. This makes 23 points by Tyra Gittens, 21.8 3/4. Aaliyah Wisby was second. Titiana Marsh from Georgia with the bronze medal.
So Arkansas now 28 points in the lead and running away with it here on the women's side, just as we knew the #1 track team in the country would do. Florida second, Georgia third. As we get ready now for the 2-section final of the women's 200, Gabby Thomas of Harvard, the collegiate record holder from 3 seasons ago. Abby Steiner with the meet record from yesterday's preliminaries. She will be in the 2nd section as we look at Favor Ofili of LSU. And on her outside, it's Jada Baylark of Arkansas. Actually, they've flipped the lanes. Baylark is in 5, Ofili in 6. So Ofili is going to be a rabbit for Baylark if she allows herself to do so. Remember, it's just 1 lap of this track, all in lanes. And the goal for the person in lane 6 is to never see their competitors. From the inside, Jayla Hollis of Arkansas, DeJour Miles of Kentucky, then Baylark of Arkansas, Ofili of LSU.
Strong start for Baylark.
Baylark keying off Ofili. Ofili has the higher hill to climb, but the bigger downhill on the other side. Got to watch the feet on those lines. It's going to be Ofili. Now she establishes the time to beat. 22:76 unofficial, corrected to 22:75.
That is a gigantic personal best. She ran 23:15 yesterday in the qualifyings for a personal record. But here you see Favor Ofili in the bright yellow on the outside. She does a great job of coming off that bank and into the straightaway, just lifting, great arms. And I like her position as she goes to the line. Everything, all forces heading to the line, and she's just absolutely flabbergasted by that time. This track continues to put up one great time after the next, and now she gets to wait.
22:75 for Ofili is the _4 time in the country this year amongst collegians. DeJour Miles at 23:16, just off her lifetime best. And Jada Baylark for Arkansas in 3rd in that first section. Now, she gets to wait. Favor Ofili gets to wait and watch the 2nd section go. And it was the leading qualifier who will be in this second section. We saw her earlier in the 60 meters. Abby Steiner, a little bit of a disappointment in that 60, but she knew coming in here that she was ready to perform.
I knew that if I went out there and ran to win my heat, then it was going to be something fast. I think it gave me a lot of confidence with who I am as a runner, that, you know, I'm belong with the best of the best.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Far and away the best time run today.
The main thing is just to enjoy this moment. This is what we pretty much work for the entire year, and just have fun and go out there and, you know, win my heat, and the times will take care of themselves.
Abby Steiner will be starting in lane 5. That's the preferred lane on this track, and she will have Tamara Clark on her outside, who is no slow sprinter, to help pull her along. They're both disappointed in their performances in the 60 meters. A chance now for a little bit of redemption.
Tamara Clark, the SEC champion in 2019 in the 200 meters. Abby Steiner won it last year.
From the inside, Tiana, ooh, and it's a call back. Did her block slip?
That almost sounded like a misfire, like
a
wasn't
blank. So they reset. No harm, no foul.
Here we go, section 2.
So just a misfire of the gun, and 3 of the 4 athletes actually started. You know, starts take it out of you. And Steiner did not start. So resetting, Tiana Wilson from Arkansas in 3, Jania Martin of A&M in 4, Abby Steiner, who is on your screen, in 5, and Tamara Clark of Alabama on the outside in lane 6. 22:75 is the time to beat. Put up by Favor Ofili of LSU in section 1. And Steiner's chasing Tamara Clark. Couldn't be a better setup for her. She ran 22:40 yesterday, just off the collegiate record. She's going to win the heat. Can she run the time? 22:51, not as fast as yesterday, but it is now 22:50. That wins the title for Abby Steiner. 22:70 for Tamara Clark. That will get her second.
Well, I liked what Abby Steiner said in her profile piece, that she knew that she just had to take advantage of her situation and she belonged, and she didn't do anything more than she normally does. And sometimes when you come off a failure in one event, you press a little bit. Abby Steiner definitely didn't press. This is how she has been running all season long. Nice and consistent. Great turnover down the stretch. It was enough to overtake Tamara Clark and Favor Ofili for the win.
So Steiner runs a 10th slower than in her preliminary heat, but it's fast enough to win the title. And Tamara Clark getting second, and John has Abby.
Abby Steiner, back-to-back championships here in the SEC in the 200. How do we recover from the 60, which is probably a little disappointing, and turn it into success here in the 200?
Yeah, I think you just have to take that race for what it is. It happened. You can't do anything to change it. So I think the best thing is just resetting and refocusing for the next thing.
You focus better than most. 22:50 and another championship here in the SEC. Congratulations.
Thank you.
There you see the final results in the women's 200. We're going a lot longer when we come back. The women's 3,000 meters. You get a lot more Arkansas after the break. We are back here at the SEC Indoor Track and Field Championships. Try to get you ready for the women's 3,000 meters. Collegiate SEC record. Former Mizzou runner Carissa Schweitzer. Take a look at the defending champ, Katie Izzo. This again, one of those races where we've got lots of Arkansas, but Arkansas's got some competition. In Alabama's Amaris Tenisma is in this thing. Joyce Camelli, who won the 5,000 from Auburn, needs to be looked at. Ditto with Mercy Chelangat. So a lot of Arkansas, but a lot of competition up front for the Razorbacks.
So they got it down to one section, 22 athletes on the track. And these two groups will stay in their groups through the first 2 turns, then break for the pole. 15 laps of this 200-meter track. Lots of runners doubling back from the mile earlier today and from the 5,000 yesterday. Yeah, Marista Niesma there in the all red of Alabama, taking the early lead. There goes Katie Izzo, right shoulder to shoulder.
There's actually Chrissy Gear up front.
Oh, Chrissy Gear, yes.
Coming back from her win in the mile to do some pacing here, but Tanisma as well ran a pretty solid mile. But that's a lot of people out on the track. 24 max, but even 22, you look at that field and you think, wow, this track isn't quite big enough for all of them, but this is indoor racing. You see some pushing and shoving there.
There are 6 Arkansas athletes in this field out of the 22 entries. So it's more than 25% of the field. Not that they really need more points, but they're going to score more points. That is Joyce Camelli in second place as they come around. They've got 12 laps remaining, so we've set the field. They're running, and we will step aside and come back with more coverage in just a moment.
Back as we pick up live coverage of the women's 3,000 meters. We'll talk about 94 feet up and down the hardwood. SEC women's basketball tournament right around the corner. First round coverage tips off Wednesday 4 Eastern. It's right here on the SEC Network, of course. And then don't forget that every game of the conference tournament streams live on the ESPN app. Listen, I'd rather shoot a basketball than throw a shot put, but I figure, Dan, I'm airballing either one of those.
All right, here we go with the ladies. This is Latavia Maines. She's a senior from Tennessee, and on her second attempt, she really blasts one out there. 58.5 1/4. You can hear the Volunteer faithful going crazy. That was a personal best for her, number 4 on the NCAA list this season. This is Thea Johnson from Florida, just a sophomore. On her 5th attempt, she decides to put one out there, 55.4, and that's a personal best for her. This young lady is from Denmark. She's ranked 16th in the country right now. And this is Chelsea Murray, the senior from Alabama. She is actually from Trinidad and Tobago. On her 5th attempt, she goes out 56.2 1/2, and that's a personal best. But your winner today is a young lady from Tennessee, Latavia Maines. 2nd, Chelsea Murray, and 3rd, Thea Jensen from Florida.
Back to the 3,000, about 4.5 laps to go, and these 3 have broken away just like they did in the 5,000, but in a bit different order yesterday. It's Joyce Camelli, the winner of the 5,000, leading this pack of 3. Katie Izzo, who was in that 5,000 yesterday, and Mercy Chilangat, who did a lot of the work in that 5,000.
And when Joyce Camelli actually made the move, Katie Izzo and Chilangat, they just didn't have an answer for it whatsoever. They had used all their energy in the last 100 meters. Camelli went around, swung around outside. It was just a little bit of an unusual race for her as well. She hadn't run that fast. She hadn't gotten the standard to go to indoors, and she decided to just believe in herself. She came away with a victory and a very fast time.
Katie Izzo making a move as we get to 3 laps remaining. You're not seeing a clock because the facility is having trouble with the clock. It's stuck on 4:18.8, so we haven't had a clock for a while. Katie Izzo taking advantage of a lapped runner. Grace Chilangat now into 2nd, and Joyce Camelli into 3rd. Camelli dropping back and now going back into 2nd. So now Izzo is the hunted. Yesterday it was Chilangat who was leading. 2 laps to go. And they're going to start to run into more lapped runners.
Well, what's interesting about this, the athletes can't see the clock, the fans can't see the clock, or the coaches, so these athletes really have to listen to their coaches. They have to get the instruction from the sidelines. Very similar position that we saw in the 5K yesterday. It looked like Katie just does not want to let this pace lag at all to give Kimeli another chance like she did yesterday.
The problem is I think Kimeli is up to the task. She can win it either way. She can stay with the hard pace, or she's got another gear to sprint at the bell. Izzo now about to pass her teammate, Gear, the winner of the mile. Shalangat has been dropped. She's easily 25 meters back. It's a two-woman race now. Katie Izzo, who has led the last 3 laps, and Joyce Kimeli, the winner of yesterday's 5,000. My money's on Kimeli. She's waiting until about the exact same spot as she did yesterday, and I don't see Izzo with a response. Kimeli about to make it a double victory. 5,000 yesterday, 3,000 today. And Izzo finishes second. Shalangat going to finish 4th because Lauren Gregory, coming back from the mile, finishes 3rd for Arkansas. So 2nd and 3rd for Arkansas.
Well, another great run for Joyce Kimeli. It's just absolutely amazing what can happen when you believe in yourself and believe in your training. It's a carbon copy of the 5,000 meters yesterday. Joyce waits with about 50 meters to go and just goes up and around Katie Izzo. A couple of fantastic races there for the junior from Auburn.
So there is your double champion. 20 points scored for Auburn by Joyce Kimeli, the junior. And we'll be back with more when we return to Fayetteville. And the women's triple jump, which we covered a bit earlier. This is Natrisha Hooper, the senior from Florida. 2nd attempt. She's from Guyana, had no 2020 season whatsoever, and goes out to 44.1.5. She was 3rd at the 2019 SEC Indoor. And we go over to Jasmine Moore of Georgia, the sophomore. This is her 3rd attempt, and she goes out to a lifetime best 45 feet 10 inches. She was 4th in the long jump earlier in the program, and she is the defending champion in this event. And this is Ariana Fisher of Missouri, and on her 6th and final attempt, coming back from 4th at this meet a year ago, she gets a lifetime best and sneaks into 2nd place by an inch over Natrisha Hooper. All of those marks good enough to go to the NCAA championships in 2 weeks. Jasmine Moore wins it with a lifetime best 45.10. Ariana Fisher, 8 points from Mizzou, and Natrisha Cooper of Florida gets 3rd. Women's 4x400 relay. They've been able to reduce it to 2 sections. This is the first of 2. The collegiate record is there, set this year by Texas A&M. In this race will be Vanderbilt starting in lane 3, Tennessee in 4, South Carolina in 5, and LSU in 6. They've seeded these based on time throughout the season. Only 12 teams can qualify to the NCAA championships, and those without a qualifying standard or one that's a bit on the bubble. This is a great opportunity for them to better their time in a very competitive situation. For Vanderbilt, that's Madison Fuller on the leadoff. Tennessee's Vanessa Watson. Knowledge Omovo of South Carolina. We've got no lineups for the LSU team.
But I can't tell you that first runner is Simone Mason. We
are at the mercy of the coaches and then reporting their lineup of their quartets.
Simone Mason's been doing some short duty sprinting for LSU, but while she was at Miami as a freshman, she was more of a 200-meter, 400-meter specialist.
LSU will hand off first with South Carolina in hot pursuit. That is Rachel Glenn of South Carolina. We saw her earlier in the high jump and the pentathlon.
53.62 for Simone Mason.
LSU and South Carolina have distanced themselves nicely from Vanderbilt and Tennessee. For Tennessee, that is Martina Weil. And for Vanderbilt, Jordan Smith. So LSU extending its lead as they pass off for the second time. South Carolina goes to Ashton Lindley, Britton Wilson for Tennessee, and Kara Brown for Vanderbilt.
Outstanding second leg.
It's Milan Young, the hurdler for the Tigers.
52.09 for that second leg for LSU, and I think that was Talitha Diggs. Excuse me, she ran for Florida. My mistake.
That's the next section.
Yes.
So LSU with about a 20-meter lead at this point. They come in with their seed time of 3:35.29. Now South Carolina coming back with Ashton Lindley, the freshman, closing the gap. But LSU still handing off with about a 6-meter lead. For South Carolina, that's Stephanie Davis on the anchor.
53.94 for Milan Young.
Stephanie Davis puts the Gamecocks in front, coming to the bell.
That's Amber Anning for LSU.
Anning back in the lead for the Tigers. Davis is going to take one more crack at it off this turn. Can Anning hold her off? She's looking at giving her the side eye. And LSU wins the heat, establishes the time to beat from the first section. 3:31.82, quite an improvement on their season best time of 3:35.29.
52.18 for Amber Anning. Nice anchor leg. Davis for South Carolina ran a 51.58. Tennessee had a bad exchange from second to third. Here we see Davis from South Carolina trying to make a move on the outside. Amber Anning doesn't look too distressed, but she is giving it everything she's got out there. Nice anchor leg, 52.18 for Anning.
LSU wins it with a huge season best, 3:31.82. South Carolina just 0.04 of a second back in second, and then Tennessee and Vanderbilt trailing from there. They both got season bests, all four teams with season bests. So now, second section, these are the four top seeded teams in the conference on the women's side. That is Morgan Burks-McGee, who will lead off for the Razorbacks. They will be out in lane 6. Florida in 3, Kentucky in 4, Texas A&M, who has the collegiate record, in 5, and then Arkansas in 6. Arkansas comes in with a seed time for the season of 3:30.80. Florida 3:34.02. And Texas A&M with that collegiate record, 326-27. They are not running the team that ran that collegiate record. And I see that they are not fielding a team in lane 5. A&M has scratched. Only 3 teams in this second section. So from the inside, it's Florida with Taylor Manson as leadoff. Then Kentucky with Megan Moss in the leadoff. And then we already seen Morgan Burks McGee for Arkansas. And Burks McGee getting the pole. Taylor Manson now coming back on Burks McGee for the turn, but can't quite close the deal. Has to run wide. Florida handing off just ahead of Arkansas. For Florida, that's Sterling Lester. For Arkansas, Rosie Effiong. And for Kentucky, Abby Steiner.
52-48 for the Florida runner.
Abby Steiner just turns on the speed up that finishing stretch. Can she drop in? She does. She's got that short, choppy movement with her arms that get her feet just turning over so quickly.
And that's Talitha Diggs, actually, from Florida. We got that order mixed around a little bit, but I love to see the short sprinters move out to 400. Watch them slow it down just a little bit, just from a pace standpoint.
Talitha Diggs, the daughter of Joetta Clark, the great 800-meter runner for the U.S. for so many years, so many Olympic and World Championship teams. That is her daughter.
51-42 for Abby Steiner.
So they put Shafiqua Maloney on the third leg. She was supposed to anchor. And for Kentucky, this is supposed to be Masai Russell. It is. And now some separation. Maloney with that 800-meter strength and 400-meter speed. So Arkansas will hand off with about a 12-meter lead.
That was a strong leg by Maloney. 51-84 for Shafiqua.
Kentucky in pursuit. Is that Dejar Miles? Still quite a gap to make up at the bell. I think this is doable. Kentucky with a better turnover. Oh, she gives her the inside and then tries to close it down and does. Arkansas holding them off. 3:28.50. That easily wins the title, and 10 more points for the Razorbacks. And all 3 of these teams beat the winning time from the first section.
Well, there we see the second to the third exchanges. Shafiqua Maloney did a wonderful job for the Razorbacks. Used her height and that strength. You got it right, hit it right on the head here, Dwight. So much strength in that 800 meters. I'd love to see 400-meter hurdlers jump in this 4x4 and that strength of the 800 meters. And here is your finish. Kentucky's anchor leg ran 50.93. Arkansas's 52.02. What a finish. But Arkansas closes it out in style with the team title And the gold medal in the 4x4.
3:28.50, more than 2 seconds better than the season best. They win the title. Kentucky second, Florida third. We'll be back to wrap it up right after this.
We are back one last time here on the SEC Indoor Track and Field Championships. And there is the final team standings. Give me Arkansas minus 5th SEC championship in a row. Now it's time to hand out trophies and accolades, individual and team-wise. And we start with the most outstanding athlete of the meet. And we go down to the SEC Commissioner one more time, Greg Sankey.
Thanks, John. It's a privilege to honor another student athlete today. The Cliff Harper Award for Women's Indoor Track and Field high point scorer for our meet goes to, from Texas A&M, Tyra Gittens. Tyra.
Tyra Gittens won the high jump, won the long jump, and all that bouncing back after what she would consider a disappointing finish of 6th place in the in the pentathlon after a bad long jump, but really rebounded nice. And now, for the 7th straight year, to present the trophy for the champion, to Coach Lance Harder of Arkansas, Greg Sankey.
Thanks again, John. Want to say thank you to our hosts, to the meet officials, to our student athletes, the young people in the Southeastern Conference are the best competitors in the country, best track and field meet for conference competition in the country. We'll be back here in a couple of weeks to prove that. At the end of competition, it's my privilege to present the SEC 2021 Women's Indoor Track and Field Championship Trophy to Lance Harder and the Razorbacks from the University of Arkansas. Ladies, that trophy is yours. Come and get it.
Well, the ladies have the photo op. We'll see if we can get Coach Lance Harder to slide over to the microphone. Lance, can you hear me?
Yes.
Listen, you come in as the #1 ranked team in the country. You're a clear favorite. You're at home. There's a lot of stuff there. How is it you took that kind of pressure and thrived for the last couple of days?
Well, I think it takes a village, and it starts with the athletes, and then you build on top of that great coaching staff with Brian Compton and Chris Johnson. And then all the medical staff, the nutrition staff, our administration that supports us so well, that it's a combined effort by everyone to realize these types of victories. And we have one more in 2 weeks that we're going to try to, take home again.
I was going to say, the confetti's on the floor, so we'll let you enjoy it for about 3 minutes and now ask you, what do you do in 2 weeks? How do you prepare for the NCAA championships?
We want to make sure everybody's healthy. Get them all ready and finely tuned for a national championship. And then 2 days later, the distance crew will be sliding over to Stillwater, Oklahoma to try to defend at the NCAA cross-country championships as well.
I told this to your counterpoint on the men's side. Since nobody's in the building, you got to cheer that hog and call them loud enough that they can hear you outside. Congratulations.
Consider it done. Hey, ladies. Here we go.
So for a moment, we lost the timing and scoring in the building, and we looked at the team standings, and we thought, how many does Arkansas have? They have enough. They come through and dominate the SEC Indoor Championships. 7 straight one for the Hogs. Great performances up and down this conference, because it just means more in the SEC, including a Ting Mu, maybe the highlight of that meet, the new 158.40 college record in the 800. For Dan, for Dwight, I'm John Anderson. Thanks for watching.